Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's about 1:49 p.m. on the 13th of November 2021. I'd like to do an analysis on Bitcoin. There's a few things that are going on here in Q4 that I'd like to discuss before we get into any of it. Of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research. I'm just giving my opinion on the market. Again, I'm going to be focusing just on Bitcoin today. Mostly because the markets are closed, and all of our updates have been given to to our Discord community. If you need access to the Discord, you can visit bitdoctor.org, and all the information is going to be available for you there on how to access the Discord. There's free options, and there's also paid options as well in there. Feel free to check it out. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the chart and take a look at some things here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to focus on the major correction from when we were actually basically where we're at right now at about 65,000 back in April of 2021. So from up here, we had an ending diagonal. You can see an ending diagonal here, and you can see we've been seeing lots of compression cycles. Right here, I have a diagonal of sorts that we completed up here as well, and I think we're in the middle of creating yet another diagonal. All in all, this is fairly bullish, but what I am kind of interested in is a C wave down here. Do I think that we created a bottom here at about 30,000? Yes, I do think we did. I think we have. But what I'm starting to see here, I'm going to point out a few things here that I'm looking at. What I'm starting to see is the creation of potentially an expanded flat on Bitcoin on a higher time frame. Now, again, that is very bullish, and if you trade leverage, you're probably going to be in a very unfortunate situation. So I would be very, very cautious. Okay, so on the Discord community, we've been talking about our targets up here at about 73 to 75,000. We've been talking about that. I've even been talking about it here in our videos for quite some time. And as of today, I went out onto Discord and I said, when Bitcoin gets up in this area, I'm just going to be selling and moving to cash. I'm not going to short the market. Although I do think that with a small amount of leverage and a small amount of risk, I do think that that would be a profitable strategy. But let me just talk about why I think that 73,000 is going to be the top for this year. So first off, we have from over here, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm counting 5 waves down. I was never a real fan of this being the very, very bottom. Corrections, as we discuss, come in waves of 3, not waves of 5. This is 5 waves down. Now, what do we have from there, though? From this low, I'm counting a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. Then from here, I see a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I think we're probably going to be creating a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making a slight higher high after a slight higher high. Potentially, we talked about this in the S&P 500 as well. Potentially, from down here, maybe even seeing ourselves go up and create a little bit of an expansion to the upside, so an overthrow. We talked about an overthrow in the S&P. I can absolutely see the same thing happening here. Now, we didn't get an overthrow back here in April. So, history does tend to repeat itself, but, it doesn't always look the same. We did get the overthrow in the S&P. We haven't seen an overthrow scenario here in the Bitcoin market. But if this is holding true, and I can see a nice little 1, 2, a big 3, 4, and then, creating the ending wave, this could easily be a 5, 3, 5. Let me see if I can get these guys to match up so that it looks the same. I'm going to color it the same as well so you can see what I'm looking at here. All right, so we've got 5, 3, 5. Okay, so if this is an A, and then we've got a 5, 3, 5 into a B, right? And of course, this would be on a higher degree. Okay, wave B, we're going to go ahead and color this guy green as well, right? So we've got the A, 5 waves down into the A, and then a nice A, B, C into the B. Okay, so let's just go ahead and mark this as well while we're talking about it. From down here, A, B, C, into that B. All right, so actually let me go ahead and leave that where he's at there, and I'm going to increase the degree on this guy. Okay, we'll put him up there, put this guy here. We're going to change the color of that one. We'll just make it white. Okay, so we can see this clearly. All right, we've got 5 waves down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the A, B, C into the B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then working on that 5. Now, the 100% equality would be right here at 72,867. I'm talking about getting rid of everything at 73. Maybe it doesn't get there. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm interested in unloading whatever bags I've got from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I haven't decided whether Cardano or Ripple are going to be included in that. But the bigger cryptos, I'll call them the bigger cryptos, I'm interested in moving to cash. Because if this is the case, let's say we do make it all the way up here to 73,000. Maybe we even get all the way up here to this 3618 at 75,700, right? If we even get all the way up here, I'm real happy just to be taking profit up here, right? We were talking about buying at 41,000. We were talking about the bottom, anything below 30,000 being a good buy. This was all the way back in May. This was after tax day. I created a video. It was, tax day was like the 17th, and this was like on the 18th or 19th, right? When we had this. I came out shortly thereafter, and I said, this is really, really bullish. At the time, I said, everybody keeps talking about the black swan, the big capitulation. That's exactly what we got. And I said at the time, I was like, you guys need to be buying this. And I mean, that has worked out really, really well so far. Obviously, we've gone from 30,000 to 64,000. Bitcoin has literally gone up over 100% since we hit these lows back in May, also in June, also in July, right? You had 3 opportunities at least to buy Bitcoin under 30,000, and now we're sitting up here at 64,000, right? Bitcoin is, still very close to its all-time high. I have no reason to believe Bitcoin won't go back up here to retest at least 72 to 75,000. We'll say 73 to 75 because that's really what I've been saying the whole time, 73 to 75. No reason to believe it won't get up there. Okay, so let's just look at this. What I'm measuring here, just to make sure that you're all aware what I'm talking about here. What I'm measuring this pivot low here. This is, just on the other side, 29,000. To this pivot high up here, right? So that pivot high, again, at about 52, 53,000, right? About where that high is, about 53,000. Then we're getting this pullback, okay? So up, and then we get the pullback. That's where I'm measuring this from. So the 618, which is a corrective target that we would be going to, was at 57,775. Obviously, we passed that. The next target is going to be right here at the 100, which is going to be at 72,867. Now, that is important. The 100% is important. I want to explain why, okay? So I'm going to dig into this guy right here, okay? Let's just talk about this correction. All right, so let's just go ahead and get our magnet tool, the very tippy top, the very tippy bottom, and then we get the pullback. Right about there. Okay, so just take a look at this. This is why the 100% equality for a correction is so darn important. Because of this right here. Look at how close we got, right? So the 100% was sitting there at 39,504, and it went all the way down here to 39,603. It was within $100. Within $100, it got there. And that was a perfect area to be buying. What did our indicator say back then? Well, let's just go ahead and see if we can zoom out. And let's just talk about what the indicator was saying when we hit that 100% equality on the correction, okay? So we were getting a buy signal back here. This was when Bitcoin was at about 44,000. The 12-hour got down here into oversold, when Bitcoin again was at about 43,000. Then right here, after the 12-hour bottomed out and started to curl back up, we had another buy signal right here. This is when Bitcoin was at about 41,375. And at about 41,000, I said, we're going to be buying this pullback. We had a nice bottom right here. What I could see is we were creating, hold on a minute. I just changed my chart here, hit the space bar. What I was seeing, let's go back over here, was right in this general area. I was seeing that we were creating several bottoms, and I said, all right, well, we've got an easy stop loss here, right? Easy stop loss. Well, this pivot right down here would be the stop loss at about 39,600, and it was about 40,000. So not huge in terms of a stop loss from a percentage perspective. Not too terrible. It was about 41,000. Stop loss was about 4%. Not terrible, right? But I said this pullback we need to buy because it looks like we are finished with the correction and we are in a 1-2, and that actually turned out being correct, right? We were in a 1-2, and then we kind of moved up from there pretty significantly. But what I wanted to highlight is the fact that we almost hit that 100% equality perfectly, and that's what I'm looking for. Going back to the 4-hour, that's what I'm looking for. Get rid of the indicator here. That is exactly what I'm looking for an upside target here, which is going to be at about 72,800, right? So somewhere in that area. Now, if we get up to 72,000, 73,000, 74,000, what am I going to be looking for the wave 4? Okay, because I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I still think Bitcoin can go up above $100,000. But as somebody mentioned on the server, I think a lot of people are expecting Bitcoin to get up above 100,000 before the end of the year. I don't think that's the case based on the structure that I see here. Based on the fact that I see 5 waves down and then I see a 5-3-5 working itself up, but it's not up here at 106,000. We would need to get up to 106,000. We need to pass 73. We need to pass 85, and we would need to get all the way up here to over $100,000 for me to change my bias. The first thing is we need to break 75, and we need to break it with a lot of volume, right? You need to see short squeeze central. You need to see significant movement to the upside, and I'm not seeing signs that there are enough people heavily bearish right now. I think more people are long than they are short. I think there are too many people that are greedy right now, that are long, they're leveraged long, and certainly there are people that are going to be shorting up here, but it would not surprise me one bit for this to get a rejection after we see, a couple more new highs, get a rejection, and then come back down. Now, again, how low is that going to go? Well, it really depends, in my opinion, on how high we go. All right, so let me just go ahead and remove some of these, and let's just go ahead and clean this up and talk a little bit about where the downside target would be. I'm going to get rid of this guy as well. I'm going to keep this because this is important. I'm going to get rid of this fib pull, and let's just take a look at this. All right, so what I'm going to be looking at is this pivot up here, this pivot down here, and I'm going to say in a perfect world, we get up here to the 100. So again, we've got from this pivot high, this pivot low, and then let's get the pullback all the way up here. Let's say we, in a perfect scenario, we go to right here at 73,000, right? Somewhere in that general area. Well, what I'm going to be looking for, again, is a move up, and then I'm going to be looking for a nice A, or actually it's probably going to come down in waves of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So it's going to look a little something more like this. If I had to guess, it's probably going to look a little something like this. We're going to get the wave C. This is going to be, in the 30s potentially. Now, are we going to get down into the 20s? I doubt it. But what I would expect to see when this happens, you have a lot of people calling for, hey, I'm going to buy at 25,000, and we're actually going to get that target that we were talking about when we were all the way back here. Yep, we're going to get 25,000 down here. Well, maybe, but it didn't happen. And that's what's going to happen down here. People are going to, they're going to buy up here, and then they're going to start capitulating once it gets down into the 40s. Then when it comes down here, they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to buy when it gets down into the 20s. And you know what, it's probably not going to happen, because once this happens and it hits the 100% equality from an expanded flat scenario, and just by the way, it may not pass the 618. It may stop at 44,000. It may not even get into the 30s. Right? So you have to be ready for that scenario too, but it's not more than likely going to get down into the 20s again. Not anytime soon. And from here, I think it does move up significantly, especially as inflation increases in the United States. And I say United States in particular because we're comparing Bitcoin against the US dollar. We're not comparing it against the British pound. We're not comparing it against any other currency. We're comparing it against the US dollar, which means if there's inflation in the US economy, Bitcoin as a speculative asset is going to be sort of immune to a certain degree to inflation. It's going to increase in value against USD as the USD value devalues itself. So that's a whole other lesson that we're not going to get into today. But this is a very possible scenario. This is turning into my main scenario. And again, looking at the indicators, the weekly is way overbought. The weekly is way overbought. Let's just take a look at all of the indicators right now on our normal time frames. Looking at this on an hourly, we had a good, actually it's not a good, it's actually not a great buy signal at all. But we've got, the hourly was down here, the 3 hour was kind of low, but now the 12 hour is getting down there. So give this a few more days, and I bet this 12 hour is going to get down here close to oversold. And really, historically, most times when it does that, a real good example was back here. We had this big candle. We were actually live at the time, and I said, if this thing recovers, up to above 62,000, well, that's good. Oh, I apologize. There was this candle back here. If it recovers above 62,000, we're pretty bullish. And yeah, it kind of retraced a bit, but again, it moved up and started to make new highs, right? These big candles have been bought up, which means I believe we're probably going to see higher prices in the form of a diagonal. Now, are we going to make a new low? I mean, it's very possible we come back down here. Taking a good buy down here at about 62,000, 61,900, probably not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Because it does look like we are in a little bit of a channel that is that has been created. Let me just go ahead and outline this for you here really quick, and then we're going to wrap things up. Parallel channel. Got this high. And then we've got this down here, right? I could pull this out just a little bit more so you can see that that's matching up pretty well. We've got this pivot, this pivot, this pivot up here, and this pivot up here. So wouldn't surprise me one bit for this guy to just kind of consolidate here and then come back down. And then we see a push up above the channel, and then we start to see a move to higher prices. That would give the 12 hours some time to get down into oversold, for selling to actually exhaust before we do make our way up to potentially an overthrow. Again, I'm still going to say that we're more than likely going to see an overthrow of some kind when we get further along in this compressionary phase before, again, potential for rejection. Yes, alts are probably going to suffer. I'm still going to maintain some of my positions that have a decent trade setup. We'll kind of see how things go as the weeks go by, because again, we're actually talking about taking this all the way into the middle of December potentially, right? At the beginning of December, middle of December. Keeping in mind, December 17th in particular has been a pretty important day. So let's just talk about some of the prior Decembers. So we have a high right here. December 17th, all-time high. That was when we had a high on this exchange of 19,891, so almost 20,000. This is on Coinbase. Then let's go over here into December of 2018. Look at this. The 15th of December 2018 was the very, very low. That was the end of the bear market in December of 2018. Now, I don't actually know what December of 2019 showed. I feel like it wasn't very important. It did on December 19th, December 18th. It did create a little bit of an important pivot low here. Then in December of 2020, this one goes actually into January, but December was just generally a pretty bullish month in 2020. So really, it's not significant, nothing significant here to talk about. But now that we're getting into this, very possible that we're going to be creating a pretty important pivot in December of 2020, which would then create this scenario and put it into its completion of this larger correction, which again could last an entire year, right? So we've got April of 2021, A, B, right? So A, B to go all the way into December, and then the C to go all the way up into, all the way through potentially April. We'll have to wait and see, take it one step at a time, one day, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, and we'll see how it goes. Do you think that, so there's a question here, do we think we should stay in trades like PSG even if it reaches 73,000? Well, here's the deal. while Bitcoin is just kind of creeping along, it's got its cane out. It's an old man, right? It's not going to have a significant move, but at some point, and I didn't really want to get into, um, I didn't really want to talk too much about this, but if we do have an alt season, right? Like I expected that Bitcoin was going to take over dominance, as you can see here, before we had a true alt season. And I don't think that that's actually going to be the case right now. What I think is more likely going to happen is that Bitcoin may stay stagnant in value, but the dominance potentially to go down into the mid 30s before Bitcoin kind of takes over and makes that run for 100,000. And again, we're talking about going in to 2022. Alts are going to bleed at some point. I don't think it's time yet. We really need, and again, we did have a pretty significant alt season here, and this lasted all the way from March all the way through May. And we've even here recently seen some really good trades. We had some good trades on BNB and some others. But this looks like a lot of consolidation, which means more than likely altcoins are probably going to decrease the dominance of Bitcoin for a while money flows into these alts. But again, kind of looking back here, is there any kind of correlation that we can look at? Well, we had a nice big move down, some consolidation, a big move down, some consolidation, a big move down, right? So we had a little move down, some consolidation, a big move down, some consolidation, then I think we're going to get that last move down. I think this is going to happen. When this happens, if Bitcoin dominance gets down into the mid 30s, I am going to move probably everything to cash. Because at that point, it's not going to be worth it to me to over leverage myself, to add any more risk or anything like that. Because as far as my analysis goes, I'm saying that more than likely, alts are going to run one more time, and it's going to be a nice quick rotation. Bitcoin dominance is going to decrease because money is going to be flowing into alts. And then once that happens, money's going to flow into Bitcoin one last time, and then that's when things are going to cash out and things are going to start moving down. And again, that goes back into what we were talking about here. And again, I am talking about this happening before the end of the year, but looking at this, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5, 3, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, this is what's going to go out quite a ways. So this is my primary count on Bitcoin. This is what I think is going to happen. I'm going to put that out there for now. So this is our 3. This is going to be our wave 4. And then we're going to have our higher targets up here. So we've got wave 5 of wave 5. We're talking about this going potentially up to $200,000. Maybe higher, I don't know, but that's long term. We're talking like 5 years down the road. We're talking, a significant amount of time down the road before we even talk about prices going up that high. We need to, again, take this one step at a time. I'm doing these videos from an active trading perspective, not from a sit and hold perspective. Now, obviously, I wouldn't buy here. I would wait for fear and greed to be much lower. I would wait for the weekly to go much lower, right? So historically speaking, when the weekly, this white one down here, when it gets down into oversold, that has been a great time to be buying, right? It just has been. Right here, these areas right here, a great time to be buying. Yeah, we had this, but look at where we are now, right? You've got these that you have to contend with. Bitcoin's not going to go to zero. I think there's too many maximalists out there. Look, we've got the weekly down here. This was down at the very bottom. Back here, right there was where it was bottoming. Over here, it was bottoming. And what happened after this? It had a nice big move up, right? And then, these just have been great places to be buying, right? When this weekly gets into oversold every single time, it's bounced at least. In the short term, even back here, we did have a good move up, right? Right here, we have had a good move up. Back here, we had a great move up. Back here, we had a good move up. And right here, we had a good move up. So there's money to be made just by playing the weekly, right? It's going to be very difficult to play with leverage trying to trade like this. But when that weekly gets into oversold, historically speaking, that has been a good place to be buying. If you're trying to dollar cost average long term, those are the best times to be buying, in my opinion. I say it's my opinion, but the indicator speaks for itself. Whenever this gets into oversold territory, it has been a good time to be buying. That's all I've got to say about that. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope this helped you. If it helped you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you need access to our Discord, there is a link in the video description. You can go to bitdoctor.org. There's 4 different membership options, including a free option for the community. We'd love to have you in there. And last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.